Welcome back to our channel. Today, we've got some incredible stories lined up for you that you won't want to miss. So sit back, relax, and get ready for some captivating stories. Let's dive in. Story 1. My former boss is the worst human being I've ever met. He did all sorts of things to mess with anyone he didn't like. So, a while ago, I was at a family event in a local park, walking with a young boy from our family who is developmentally disabled with Down syndrome, Ben. Ben does fairly well, all things considered, but he's always been sensitive to anyone making fun of the way he looks or his condition. We were just having a good time on our little stroll, both enjoying the day. Along comes my boss walking toward us. I'll call him Rob. I cringed at seeing him but smiled and said hello to play nice. Rob, there's something you don't see every day. A pair of ugly simpletons walking together. Ben burst into tears as Rob laughed and walked off. I dealt with Ben and ignored Rob. I was super angry and trying to calm Ben down because, for a few minutes, he was totally distraught. Finally, I got Ben to focus on how he has me and a lot of other awesome friends and family, and that Rob is a stranger, and what he thinks doesn't matter. We walked some more, and I saw that Rob was at the park with his wife and teen daughter, having a cookout. He had apparently been on his way back to his family from a trip to the restroom when he saw us. Back to being super angry, I went back to our gathering and talked to an adult cousin of mine, Jay, telling her what happened. She wanted to get revenge on Rob, but I reminded her that this was my boss. I didn't want Rob to know the revenge had anything to do with me because then he'd make my work life even worse than he already had. So, Jay asked me for anything I knew about Rob that might help. I told her a bunch of things about Rob, but the relevant info here is that Rob liked to drink a particular kind of locally made beer at a certain bar. Rob had talked about having drunk there on the previous Friday night, while his wife and daughter were away visiting her family. Also, Rob had recently told a story at work about his wife's obsession with a particular little green fictional character. Let's call it Yabby Boda. Turns out his wife kept a stuffed Yabby Boda on their bed at all times. I wasn't there for the revenge setup itself because I didn't want Rob to see me, but Jay filled in the details afterward. It was basically this. She approached Rob and put an arm around his shoulders and tried to hug him. Rob pushed her off. Rob, what are you doing? Rob's family was now paying attention.
Jay, I am just so excited to see you.
Sweetie? Rob, what are you talking about? Jay, seriously, you're going to act like you don't know me now. I know you were a bit tipsy after all of those beers at the bar last Friday, but surely you remember how we had fun hanging out. Rob, nothing happened of this sort later, or ever. I don't even know your name. Jay, stop lying. Rob, turning red, you lying son of a. Rob's wife interrupting. Listen, I don't know who you are, but this is my husband. I'm sure you have mistaken him for someone else. Please just leave us alone. Jay, oh no, I'm not mistaken. We had a lot of fun on Friday night, and now he's acting like he doesn't even know me. Rob's wife, I told you, this is my husband. You're mistaken. Jay, oh, maybe I am. I guess it was someone else who kept talking to me and complaining about his wife's obsession with Yabby Boda. Sorry. Jay then turned and walked away. Rob's wife. Oh my goodness. Rob, what is wrong with you? Long story short, Rob's wife wasn't really happy with him anyway, and this was apparently the tipping point that made her file for divorce soon thereafter. Rob frequently complained at work in the following months about how he didn't care about his wife, but really missed his daughter and how much it was terrible to live in his new place compared to his old home. Every time he complained about his lack of a home life at work, I knew he did it to himself when he was mean to a developmentally disabled kid. The best part is he never figured out I was involved at all. Story 2. So, about 8 years ago, I sold a used car. The engine light was on, the AC needed recharging, and the fuel pump or something was out. So, I went to my local, trusted sales site. The ad went up with a few pictures and the words, I work weird hours, so I may not be able to accept a phone call. Please only text me. Yay to working swings and midnights, right? It was actually college classes, but the same thing for me. So, a few days in, I got a pretty standard text. Hi, I'm Matt. Is your car still for sale? Matt isn't his real name, but you get the idea. So, I texted back that it is. A few standard texts about the price, why the engine light was on, who I got the quote from, and whatnot went back and forth. I listed an approximate price on the repairs as quoted from my trusted mechanic. The next day, I got a text from him saying, "Are you going to take all your stuff out of the car before you sell it to me? Or is that my job?" Unwarranted hostility? Really? What the heck, man? He wasn't the only interested party, so I texted him back. "I'm not selling the car to you, so don't worry about it." I never said I would sell it to him. He never asked if he was the only interested party, and others were arranging test drives already. I didn't need him and his less than full price, partial commitment, and the stuff he was complaining about was 3 textbooks and a bag I kept clothes in. 4 things. This guy didn't like to take no for an answer and started calling and texting about how my car's paint was peeling true. But the pictures and description said so, and how dare I ask so much $1,000 for a piece of junk car? I started replying for a time, telling him he wasn't going to get the car, that I had other interested buyers, so he didn't need to worry about it, etc. Then things got personal. This site gave you the option to link to Facebook so you could post in both places at the same time. So I didn't have my privacy settings turned down as it was still early into Facebook's absolute reign, and I actually trusted them at the time. Silly me, I know. I hadn't anticipated that he would be able to find my info through the website's post and find my name, my location, pictures of my kid, my mother-in-law's obituary, etc. Surprise me, he did. He started to text me about how I should be ashamed of myself for saying no to him, a muscular dude, and me being a quite round female. He included a picture in one text, and he wasn't the muscular, built man he claimed to be. He looked like a beanpole with 2 abdominal muscles. So, what the heck, dude? He asked me if I even knew everything about cars or if I made the post while I was being emotional. So I didn't know what I was talking about. He texted that I should be lucky I was already married, or else he would come to my house and show me how a real man handles a little witch he got close but didn't have an address. And the way my address pulls up on GPS, he never would find my apartment, thankfully. Small side info, since I was in college at the time and needed a more flexible schedule, I worked as a school crossing guard. Every 2 weeks or so, we'd go in to sign our time cards to get paid. This crossing guard gig was a hire through my local police department. Not all crossing guard gigs are the same, but this one was. During one of these visits to the office, I was using my phone while I was waiting for my boss to get to me, my name being low in the alphabet. I hadn't yet blocked the dude as it hadn't been long since this started, and I was hoping it would fizzle out on its own. I didn't check my phone in class, choosing to turn it off to avoid getting distracted by it the entire day, and I was often flooded with several hours of texts all at once. What I saw on my phone drove me over the edge. He started texting about pictures I had posted on Facebook about my 8 or 7-year-old son. He had just majorly crossed the line. The cleanest version of his texts included things like, "Your kid is just as ugly as you are. I hope you don't plan on him leaving home to get a wife anytime soon." And how a smudge of dirt on his face from a day at the zoo looked like I beat him. "I didn't sell you a car, and you're taking out your rage by threatening to harass me and accusing me of beating my kid." Oh, heck no. Apparently, I was loud when I said what I did because my boss stepped right over to me next and asked what was wrong. Great person. 10 tenths. I told her that I was getting these abusive texts from a random guy who tried to buy my car. I told her I was about to erase the texts and block him, but she's like, "No, wait, don't do that. Let me see your phone." So happy I didn't delete them because this next part still makes my heart sore. I offered, and she took my phone, reading all the sick and vile things he texted to me. She told me to wait until she cleared the lobby of the other crossing guards, so I did. She then told me to follow her behind the security doors at the police department station, still having my phone. I didn't know what was happening, but I liked and trusted her, so I did. I followed her back to her office, where she worked on her computer, referring to my phone on occasion. She asked if all I had was the phone number or if I got his name too. I told her I only got a first name and scrolled to the text where he introduced himself. A semi-uncomfortable amount of time later, she handed back my phone. Something to mention, my boss isn't just administrative. I didn't know it at the time, but she's a full-on lieutenant in the local police department. She came up the ranks from patrol, moving to a position where she exclusively investigated child, elder, and disabled abuse complaints before moving into her current desk position. Needless to say, she didn't take people threatening harm to kids lightly. Because I hadn't blocked the number, I still had the text messages with the guy's name, and she had used it to cross-search him and the phone number. Long story short, she knew exactly who he was. She said not to worry, but don't delete or respond to his text anymore. She had it. If it got worse, I should call her or 911 as appropriate right away. Unconcerned and happy she had the situation in hand, I left and went to class. When I went back to the office to sign my next time card 2 weeks later, I had several unread texts from the guy. I had filtered them, so I didn't see them pop up and hadn't read them. I had sold the car for full asking price and all but forgotten the entire situation. My boss told me to wait for her again as she had something else for me to sign, and I, again, returned to her office. She briefly explained what she had for me, an actionable complaint that she needed me to sign from my issue 2 weeks ago. I remembered everything all over again. She must have seen my face because she told me not to worry and that she could tell me what was going on more after I actually signed the form. So I did. Dear listeners, this is the best situation anyone could have asked for. The phone number was tied to many people as the provider was known for cheap cell service for those who were desperate for a way to contact people, services, and employment. But with the name Madigan, fake name, she was able to find out who was messing with me. She then got a driver's license, which led to an address, which led to a police report for possible domestic violence. Fall down the rabbit hole some more, and you find out that this guy had 5 kids by 4 women, and he was in arrears on his child support to them all. Hadn't been paying for 10 plus years, and it was in the neighborhood of 30-50K, if memory serves. But he somehow, just 2 weeks ago, requested a title transfer for a new to him, quite fancy old car. I don't remember the kind, but think high-end car show and massive insurance premiums. Being so far in arrears meant that my boss was able to place a seizure order on the car so it could be sold to pay back the child support. One of the baby mama's lives in a state where fleeing child support meant you could have a warrant issued for your arrest. When she called the interested parties in that state to see if they wanted her to execute the arrest warrant, they said, yes, with much haste. That was a funny turn of phrase, so I always remembered it. One conversation later, my boss was able to determine that he was using the brother's social security number on his employment forms to avoid child support garnishments. This is all sorts of illegal, so she notified the guy's human resources department so it could be corrected. They informed her he would be fired for fraudulently submitting false documents. She then told me that about 4 days ago, she had executed the warrant on the guy for felony child abandonment, and that the state he was to be held for was already en route to pick him up. It carried an 8 to 12-year sentence, and he still had to pay his back child support. I could have dealt with the comment. I could have dealt with the not taking no for an answer, even dealt with a cyber stalking, a little. But when your twisted mind okays you to bring my kid into the picture, you have crossed the line. If you would have stopped at no, you wouldn't be in jail right now. Story 3. I drive for a ride-sharing service in the Dallas area, and I received a ride request. I picked up the gentleman, and it was a good ride. About 5 minutes in, the rider asked me what was on my rearview mirror. I told him it was my interior cam. He got mad and told me to turn it off because he didn't like such surveillance. I reminded him that the ride-sharing app would have said there was video recording. There are also signs on the door. He could have declined to book the trip if there was a problem. It escalated when he yelled, "You better turn that thing off or else." "Or else?" I asked. "Yes," was the reply. "Turn it off or stop this trip." I verified with him his request, and he said, "Yes, turn the thing off or end this trip." To which I said, "Fine. Have it your way. I will comply." At that, I exited the highway and pulled into a convenience store. He acted a bit stunned before shouting, "What the heck are you doing?" I calmly stated. "You said either I stop recording or I end the trip. As I have no intention of stopping the recording, I am letting you out here." That did not go well for him as he started screaming and hurling verbal abuse, questioning my parentage, and although correctly guessing my sexual orientation, he was rather rude about it. I calmly ended the trip as per his request. That was the compliance. Here's the maliciousness. When ending the trip on the app, I gave him a 1-star rating as we can't give a 0. As he was really getting on my last nerve, I added feeling unsafe and abusive to the rider. As he continued to rant, I pointed to a police car that just pulled in and told him, "If you don't leave my car immediately, then perhaps you might want to explain why not to that nice officer." After getting a few more cutting jabs and getting out, he tossed his open protein drink at my head, hitting the headrest and spilling all over the floorboard. It was then that I got a text message from ride-sharing support asking if I was all right. I said I was. They told me his account was suspended and asked if I could send the video clip to them. I said I would and also mentioned the mess. Ride-sharing support told me to just send them a picture, and he would be charged a $75 cleaning fee, which I got within an hour. So, I did exactly what the writer wanted, but due to his petulant behavior, he got a canceled ride-sharing account, and it cost him $75. If he would have just left, I wouldn't have done a thing, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing content. We love hearing your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let us know which story was your favorite. And as always, stay tuned for more real-life stories next time. See you soon.